On Kennedy, a conversation that no parent wants to have.
It is unimaginable for any parent, but when your child is facing a life-threatening illness, there are conversations you need to have as a family. So how do you talk to young kids about their health in a way that is honest and reassuring when you are simply terrified? Here with advice is Laura Pasqualino. She is a social worker and consultant at Wellspring Cancer Support Network. It's good to have you here on this very difficult but necessary conversation, Laura. And where do you even begin? Your child is diagnosed with a serious illness, possibly life-threatening illness. Where do you start?
Yeah, I think going back to your introduction, I think families are really reeling at this time. They're not sure how to handle things. Everything's new to them. Often it's come from out of the blue. So I think even the idea of using the word cancer, for example, can be a real challenge. So,
Should you name it?
Absolutely. I think the reason why sometimes we don't actually name it is because we know that it brings up lots of issues. It brings up lots of emotion, fear, especially if you've had a family member who's died of cancer. Any child who's in the school system knows about Terry Fox. So the reason often why we don't use it is because we're protective. We're not often the people who bring bad news to our children. We're the supporters. We're the encouragers. We're trying to assist them through things. So the idea of sharing it with them, why do we do that? Well, if we don't do it, they're going to find out at some point, because kids are very, very smart.
Yes, they are.
They listen in on conversations. They hear conversations on the phone. And of course, when it's their own diagnosis, they're in the hospital. They're meeting with doctors and nurses, social workers. So we really want them to understand that this is something we can talk about. Back in the day, we often whispered cancer, or we kept it from kids.
It was the C word.
It was the C word, if you got that far. And now actually I find parents are doing really well with sharing information with their children when they start at the basics. So sharing a little bit about what cancer is. And so kids who are, even just 3, 4, parents might say, why would we use the word cancer with someone who's 3 or 4 when they don't understand what it is? And I actually say that's a great time to do it.
It's a great, and that's the next part that I want to talk about. Sure. Age-appropriate language, whether it's cancer or anything else. You're not going to talk to a 3 or 4-year-old the same way you'd address an 11 or 12-year-old.
That's right. So I think, again, depends. Every child's a bit unique as well, though. If you have children as well,
you've got to know your own kid.
You have to know your own kid. So you'll have that one child who will ask 50 questions, and the other child who will not ask any questions, go away, think about it, and come back with one really big one. So we want to be able to give them the information that they actually want. So, but we should give them the basics. It is cancer. What kind of cancer is it? And again, a 3 or 4-year-old knows what blood is, for example, so they can understand that there's cancer in their blood if it's leukemia. So we want to be able to share the information appropriately. If they're a high school student, perhaps they do want to look up information. We want to make sure they're looking up appropriate information. There's lots of stuff out on the internet that may not be appropriate. So we want to make sure they're getting their information right from medical professionals who know about this. So we want to, again, make sure that the information is appropriate for their age.
Planning, because life right now, after this diagnosis, is going to change, and how it will affect the family, how it will affect that child in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have things that we do in our life to make it work. And you go to work, you bring kids to school, they have after-school activities, and the cancer of diagnosis just sort of blows things up for a family, because suddenly they have to adjust the whole family. So the siblings actually are quite affected by this. The child themselves may be pulled out of school to go for treatment. They may have to make long trips back and forth to the hospital. And again, for children with a diagnosis of cancer, it's often a fairly long process, whereas for adults, it might be, say, just as an example, a year for treatment. Many children actually go through it for 2 years or more. So, and it's quite intensive. So they may be losing their hair, they may be having challenges, and even the basic things that, as parents, we worry about, like our picky eater. Well, imagine trying to get them through and taking pills that they don't want to take and
everything else.
Everything else.
And just quickly before I let you go, for the parents who have to deliver this news, it must be so difficult to stay strong at a time when they just want to fall apart.
Yeah.
A tip or advice for them?
Sure. I think that's exactly it. I think parents are terrified themselves, and how do we reassure our kids when we have our own fears? And what I would suggest is talk to somebody about it. We at Wellspring, for example, where I'm a consultant, parents will come in basically talking about their fears and concerns so that they can share it with another adult and help know how to guide their kids, because I find that once parents get a chance to talk about it, they're actually realizing I'm more resilient than I thought I was. I never thought I could do this. I never wanted to do it, but I have to do it. And people are kind of amazed by their own strength sometimes. So that's really what we want to concentrate, certainly at Wellspring, is helping parents be the best parents for these kids, because they're their main supporters.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you for having me.
We'll have a link to